Why is the intro so hard? Okay. Hey Angels and Biscuits, CSDL here, and with Scream 2022 upon us, I thought this would be the perfect time to do a ranking of the first 4 Scream movies, and then after I go see Scream 2022, I will do a review for that movie and update the ranking to include Scream 2022. But this video is just about Scream movies 1 through 4. So how this is going to work is there's 4 movies, so I'll start at number 4, which one I think is the worst, and then, we'll go up from there. I will talk about some big spoilers from each of the movies, so if you haven't yet watched Screams 1 through 4, go do that and then come watch this video and join me in ranking them, or if you don't mind spoilers, watch anyway. But let's get right into it. So at number 4, my least favorite of the franchise is Scream 2. So I think this one did not stand much of a chance because the first one I thought was amazing. It did so well. There were so many things that movie did that just, other horror movies weren't doing, and then it has a sequel. And the second one for me kind of went a little too hard with parody and, making fun of itself as a sequel, and the whole introducing the stab movies, which are a thing for the rest of the series 2 through 4. I wasn't the biggest fan of that, and I think the plot just didn't hit home for me. It fell a little flat. Like, the killers were the best part of this movie, in my opinion. Like, Mickey was great, even though you probably could tell he was the killer in like the first 5 minutes he was on screen. But he was an amazing character. Timothy Olyphant, is that how you say his name? I'm sorry if that's wrong. But he did an amazing job, and Mrs. Loomis as a character is interesting. Like, she could have an entire character study done on her. But the story itself was lackluster, in my opinion. So I think because it followed such a great movie and then they did not really nail the plot, it gets 4th place for me. So coming in at number 3 is Scream 3. Now, Scream 3, okay. I liked the plot. I liked the story. Which is the only reason it took 3rd place and not 4th place. But it only has 1 killer. That almost put it in last place for me, because one of my favorite things about Scream as a franchise is, 3 out of 4 movies have 2 killers, and this is the one that doesn't. That really lets me down with that movie. Now, Roman I do like as a character, though they went a little too hard, making him over dramatic. But he's still fun, and he's still an interesting character. And I think they found their footing, after movie 2 with the writing, and I think the plot did a lot better. The writing was a lot smoother, and that was better than the second one. But if I was going to give them a rated score, which I do in a blog, if you want to read that, I will link it in the description. You can see my more detailed thoughts on each of these films. But 2 and 3 have the same score. 3 would have done better. It lost a half point for having 1 killer. Anyway, so third place, Scream 3. Second place, Scream 4. Now, most of these movies keep, bringing the killers back to Sydney, like connected to Sydney in some way. Um, the second one was obviously Billy Loomis's mother. Three was her half brother she didn't know she had, and four, it's her cousin, which by this point I am a little tired of killers that are related to Sydney or making it completely all about Sydney. No, but I love Sydney. Like it's not it's complicated because I love Sydney as a protagonist, but I think they could do a little bit better with the killers. However, I am a little done with I guess killers related to Sydney or killers whose motives are kind of dull. And Jill in Scream 4, her motive is fairly dull. She's just jealous, having spent her whole life hearing about Sydney, 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 Sydney. So she turns into a killer to get her 15 minutes of fame and have books written about her. And, it's a very, I think, dull motive. I don't like it. But as the villain, as the antagonist of this film, she is a genius. Like, so smart. And she's still in school. Like, she's still in high school and she's got professional psychopath brain. And that was impressive. Like, she was such a smart killer. And they throw a lot back to the first film in this one because she is kind of trying to replicate Sydney's story. In my written review, I did critique two a little bit for trying to replicate things from the first film, but I think the way they went about it was not great. Where in four, I think they did a much better job if they wanted to recreate some things or play on the tropes and the scenes and just the things they did from the first film. They did a much better job in this one. And even the killer's relationship, even they were mirroring Stu and Billy from, or Billy and Stu. I guess Billy was the mastermind, not Stu. But anyway, so they were replicating that dynamic. We had Jill being the dominant personality, and we had the second killer who, wow, is his name escaping me? Was it Charlie? Was Charlie the second killer, or was Charlie the other film guy that they killed? Editing me will confirm or deny if Charlie was the killer. But her accomplice, essentially, was a lot like Stu. She was just using him. He was never going to survive. He had to die, but I don't think he uh, really realized that until it was too late, a lot like Stu. So they even were replicating that killer dynamic, which I think they did fairly well. I love Billy and Stu as killers. Their dynamic is great. So it was nice to see a similar setup done well. Not to mention, 4 gave us some really creative kills that I think I had been missing. Like, they present the bodies in ways kind of like they did in the first film, or maybe not exactly the same way, but there was like presentation. And I think that's something the first film had that 2 and 3 kind of stayed away from, or they strayed away from that, I guess is a better way to say that. And 4 kind of brought that back. We also got reporter Gail back. I kind of missed her, you know, hard hitter reporter attitude. Um, sneaking into places, doing ninja reporter stuff. I missed Gail doing that. Like she's a character that just rubs you the wrong way, but you love her anyway, and it's just Gail is great. I love Gail. So 4 is the number 2 spot because it is written better, the tropes are done better, their throwbacks to movie 1 are done better. They stepped up their game from 2 and 3. Which brings us to our number 1 spot, which is no surprise to many, I'm sure, but that is Scream, the original, the first one from 1996. I love this movie so much. It was my first horror movie that I ever saw, so there is some nostalgia factor. But I think that the first one just has something that the others don't. I think partly because it is the first one, and after that you expect certain things. Things aren't a surprise. Like the first time you watched the first Scream, you weren't expecting 2 killers. Well, maybe you were, but like say I was not when I saw it, but I was also very young when I saw it. But maybe you were like me and you weren't expecting the 2 killers. It's also got a lot more humor in it than most horror films would. They like to poke fun at themselves just a little bit, and I think the first one they did not go over the top with it. Like 2 and 3, they go way too over the top. 4 dialed it back some, or they learned how to fix it and write it in better. But 1, I think it had a nice balance. They had a lot of good kills. There wasn't a lot of time where you were just watching nothing. There was always a good balance of action with their storytelling going on. I love so much about it. And this movie has Billy and Stu, who are probably my 2 favorite killers out of the franchise. They have such a great dynamic together. I think on the phone, they have the most charming dialogue, even though it's one man that does the voice of Ghostface with the voice changer. But I think the dialogue written with Billy and Stu in mind, they were more charming, they were more clever. There was just a lot more to their characters than I think than the other killers had, and it was great. It was great. I love Billy and Stu so much. So that is my ranking at the top. Scream 1, the original, 4, 3, 2 following. For now, after I see Scream 2022, I will do a review and update the ranking. I will likely do my more in-depth review as a blog, but I will still do a video review and link the blog that I wrote in the description, same as this one. And that is all I had for you guys today. I would appreciate it if you left a like, a comment, and subscribed. If you are a fan of the Scream franchise, leave a comment down below telling me how you would rank the first 4 films. That is all for now, and I will see you guys next time.